Okay, welcome everyone to week 2 of DES 105 page layout tools. I am your graphic arts instructor, Shannon McNamara. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to go over tonight, but before I jump into my agenda, I do want to go over my telephone hours again. Phone hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And you can email me anytime. Just note that I am located in Eastern Standard Time Zone. So just be aware of the time zone change when you are trying to reach me. And I'm usually pretty quick about getting back to emails. I usually take off part of the day on Friday and most of the day on Sunday when I finish up my grading, just to let you know. But if I do see an email, I will try to get back to you if it's something I can answer quick. All right, so our agenda for this week, I have a bunch of announcements to go over. We're going to discuss the discussion question for week 2. We're going to go over those CRAP principles of design. And then we're going to spend a bunch of time on the different information going into the assignment for week 2, how to apply those CRAP principles, style sheets, tabs. I'm going to show you 2 different types of menu layouts. And if time allows, we will do a critique of the week 1 assignments, the menu covers. If we do not have enough time, that's okay. We will do a critique next week where we'll look at the menu as a whole. I just want to kind of see where we are at the end of the session. And it's currently just me here right now. So if we end up with a couple more people, I will definitely try to squeeze in that critique. And if it is still just me tonight, no worries. I'll probably hold off and I will do the critique next week and we'll do a full critique. So that's where we are at now. A reminder on due dates. All assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at midnight for full credit, and make sure that you are communicating with me regarding late work. This will save you some missed points. So those of you who emailed me and received a response, you know that I was not going to take off the late points for your assignment, and I do appreciate you emailing me ahead of time. Also, week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. The course will turn into a pumpkin and it will bump you out. So you want to make sure that you are uploading all of your stuff ahead of time, especially on week 4. Everybody in the school tends to upload all of their stuff at the same time on week 4 because all of the classes close out at the same exact time. So you want to make sure that you are getting that stuff uploaded sooner rather than later. And I will say this each week, if you do run into a problem in week 4 where you're uploading and something goes wrong, make sure that you email me immediately so that way I have your assignment when I get up to grade on Sunday morning. Otherwise, I will just assume that you did not pass in your final assignment. Also, your original discussion post is due by Wednesday at midnight, and make sure that you're responding to 2 of your fellow students by Saturday and that you're posting on 2 different days of the week. And also, late discussion posts will not be accepted past the Saturday deadline for the week. This is a hard deadline. A reminder also about our course schedule. Live sessions are Mondays from 4 to 6 p.m. and multi-sessions are Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. And multi-sessions are open if you need to come in with any assignment problems, if you have some questions, or if you want some one-on-one tutoring. This does give you ample time during the week to get those assignments done. And if you do need some outside help outside of those hours, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available and no appointment is necessary. All right, so let's go over a couple of the announcements so far this week. And please make sure that you are reading all of the announcements in this course. I try to not only keep you updated about what's going on in the course, but I also try to share with you important information that will hopefully help you out not only in this course, but in other courses as well. So if you received a response from me regarding having low-res artwork in your assignment this week, what I've done is I've given you 2 resources to be able to download better images if you went looking for images for your menu, but they were a little bit low res. Freeimages.com and pexels.com. It's kind of like pixels, but with another E. Those are some really good resources. And honestly, some of the images on pexels.com is beautiful. The photographers who are putting their work up here have some excellent, excellent photographs. So even if, for other courses, I definitely suggest checking out the site. There's just some beautiful, beautiful photography up here. Great compositions, great coloring, really great stock photos. So I definitely suggest checking out that site. But yes, if you did receive a comment regarding low-res artwork, please find some better artwork going into week 2, and those are some great resources that you can use. Also, this image is missing. Hold on one second. I'm going to just leave student view for this. Oh, maybe it didn't have an image. I could have sworn I posted an image, but anyways, make updating your Behance page a habit. This is really important, especially in our career. There is no way that you can get a job in graphic design without having a portfolio. Either in these days you need a digital portfolio. When I was going on interviews back in the day, I had to physically carry my portfolio around with me in one of those big portfolio cases and lay out all of my compositions on the table to show my potential employers everything that I could do. Now I just either bring my laptop, or actually I usually just bring my iPad with me and I can show them right there. And I always make sure that I email a link to them so they can look on their screen, or I can just show them right on my screen. Because the only way that you will end up with a potential client or a potential employer in this industry is with a portfolio. So I've actually shared in this announcement a link to my own portfolio, because even though I teach now, I still have to keep my portfolio updated. So a good way to get your files ready for your Behance portfolio and your Behance page is to actually open up those PDF files and then save them as a JPEG. So when you open your PDF in Acrobat, make sure you're looking over it really good, that there aren't any errors. And what you want to do is go File, Export to, Image, and JPEG. So that is the easiest way to create a JPEG from those PDFs, and just upload them right to your Behance site. Really try to get in the habit of doing that. Whoops. Oh, that's fine. There we go. Just want to make sure my screen looks like your screen so it's not confusing. Here are our learning coach hours for this week. So DJ has hours on Monday from 4 to 9 p.m., Wednesday from 7 to 11 p.m., Friday from 4 to 11 p.m., and Saturday from 3 to 10 p.m. So if you need some help with those assignments, even if you need her to just, proofread your work for you before you upload it, or if you need some help brainstorming some ideas or critiquing those projects, please pop in and see her. She's really great. I love working with DJ, and she's super, super helpful. So again, all hours are Mountain Time, so just do the time zone conversion to whatever time zone you are in order to kind of get those hours right. But she has some great hours, and they're kind of late hours too, which is good. All right, so here is my policy regarding resubmissions and late work. I will allow one resubmission per assignment or assessment for a better grade. Auto-graded quizzes are exempt from this. All resubmissions must be completed by the Tuesday of week 4, which is March 27th. And if you have any late work that you have not submitted, that needs to be submitted by the Friday of week 4, which is March 30th. And discussions cannot be resubmitted and late discussions cannot be submitted. And if you are missing work from week 1, there's still time to fix this. So try and get those missing assignments and assessment in. The assessment was a quiz this week as soon as you can, because there's still time to bring up that grade going into week 2. All right, and this one's kind of a big one. So tomorrow we have our multi-session from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And I am currently in the path of a nor'easter / blizzard for the next 48 hours. It went from yesterday morning that I was in the zone of either 0 to 3 inches or 3 to 5 inches. So I was like, great, that's fine. And I was kind of like, boo, 3 to 5 inches. Well, it has shifted over the last 24 hours, and now I am projected to receive almost 20 inches of snow. So if there are any internet or electric outages, I will do my best to alert everyone via the Canvas app by posting an announcement. So just please make sure you are reading the announcements in the course. And again, I will do my best to be in there, even if it's a little bit spotty. I will try my best to be in there tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you when I say that they literally showed my area and it said, and where I am, I always seem to be on the line of like, we're either going to get this or we're going to get this. It just must be where they draw the maps all the time. And it said, we were right on the line of 0 to 3 or 3 to 5. But I was like, ooh, we really look like we're in the 0 to 3 area though. And that was yesterday morning during the 7 o'clock morning news. And by the time the noon news came in, it had shifted and they said maybe 10 to 12. And I went, oh, are you kidding me? And then by this evening, they had upped it again to 20 inches where I am. So yeah, I had Verizon outages this weekend as well. Yeah, what a mess. We lucked out the last 2 storms, so I'm really hoping we luck out again, because the last thing I want is to be home with an infant with no heat, no hot water, no electricity, and no anything. I can almost deal with the no internet, but you know, when you have a baby, she doesn't know that she can't go on the web. So just keep that in mind for tomorrow. Again, I will do everything in my power to be here for the multi-session. And even if, you know, I have to run my car or something to try to keep my laptop running in there and try to hook up, I'll try my best. Just know that. So if I'm not here, it must be really bad. All right, so let's talk a little bit about week 2. So week 2 has an introduction to the principles of design. Again, regarding that critique of last week's assignment, if we have time tonight, I will do a critique. And if not, then we will do a critique next week with the full menus, which might make a little bit more sense, because I really want to hone in on the style sheets this week and showing you guys how to set those up. And I also want to go over the CRAP principles of design, going over tabs, and I want to show you two different ways to do a menu layout. Something that's a bit more formal and something that's a bit more casual. So again, I'm going to try my best to get through everything tonight, but the last thing on the list will be that critique if time allows. So there are 4 basic elements of design. They're known as contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. So the acronym for them is CRAP, which is kind of funny because if you do it right, it's the opposite of crap, but it's one of those things where you always remember it as a designer. So we designers look to crap to know if our design is working. So when it comes to contrast, contrast ultimately means a change in size, a change in color, a change in direction. It can be a change in typeface, a change in type weight, and more. So those changes bring an emphasis and they create focal points within your design. You know, that contrast tells a viewer's eyes where to go, where to look, and where to put their focus inside of your design. As a designer, it's up to you to tell the viewer how to interact with your design. So you can do this with size, position, color, texture, shape, or even orientation of shapes. So the contrast, obviously, in these examples, the one bigger square, the one line that's out of line, the one different color, the one different texture, the one different shape, and the shape that's turned on its side. That all lends contrast to a design. But contrast can also be used with text. So you can see here why your eyes don't know where to focus in this. This is why this is a bad choice. Our eye just goes red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green. This is also a bad choice because there's not enough contrast here with that lighter blue over about a 50% blue. If this light blue was over this dark blue background, it would work much better. It would have a lot more contrast, kind of like in the green example here, which has more contrast between the greens. And if you're not sure if it's going to work, I can show you a little trick. It's a good way to try to check things for your contrast. It's kind of I call it the Photoshop trick. I'm sure it actually has a name, but to me, it's the Photoshop trick. Copy. Let's see if it pastes it. Maybe not. So what you can do is you can bring it into Photoshop and change it to grayscale. And you'll be able to see how this did not have enough contrast. See how close those grays are to each other. However, the two greens, and this really works with two different colors per se, because obviously the red green looks good together, but it doesn't look good as as two color choices because your eyes don't know where to look. But you can see, you know, if you're trying to figure out, hey, if I do blue over blue or if I do green over green, is it going to work? And that's how you can kind of tell is when you change it to grayscale and look at the amount of contrast where you can see why this is a bad choice and this is the better choice. So that might help you out when you're trying to get that contrast right. And you can even, you know, go in and bring your whole design, your whole PDF into Photoshop and try and see what the contrast is in that PDF. So I'll kind of show you with mine real quick. Last week I had made a menu cover. I'm in the wrong course. A menu cover so I can see if it has enough contrast by bringing my PDF in to Photoshop. And turning it to grayscale. And so you can see that there's definitely contrast still between, you know, in color and in black and white. So that's how I can tell if it's gonna work. And if it didn't, you know, I might go through and just rethink some of those colors. So that's why contrast is so important. Next up, we have repetition. So repetition represents consistency within a design. We try to repeat elements so that the design is cohesive. So we have repetition in our typefaces, the sizes of our type, the color, the leading. Everything is set up consistently to create visual unity and harmony within the design. So that's where those style sheets are going to start to come in this week. And that's why we're going to use them, because InDesign has style sheets which do the work for us to put together that repetition and keep things cohesive and consistent throughout our design. So here's some examples of repetition. So you can see how the design has been broken up into sections. There's vertical sections, and then there's these cross sections that go through. And even though these are two different pages, through this same technique, you can tell that these two designs go together. And it's through that use of repetition. And if you can kind of look, I know it's hard to see, but it's actually better that it's hard to see. You can tell just by the text, by looking at it, that there's a cohesive layout to this text. This font here is the same point size and the same leading with the same amount of space between the paragraphs as on this page. And then this small type here is all consistent between the pages. So you can see the use of style sheets and the use of repetition in this example. Next, we have alignment. So alignment is vitally important in graphic design because it allows you to arrange elements in a way that matches how people will naturally scan the page. It also helps balance your image so that it's visually appealing. It creates a visual connection between related elements, which actually goes into our next principle, which is proximity. So here's an example of horizontal alignment. The body copy is aligned with the left and with the right hand margins, so it's aligned with both margins. And then this is vertical alignment, where the text is aligned with the top and bottom margins of the page. So you can see that there's the same amount of space here as there is down here. It's nice and vertically aligned within this space. And this is horizontally aligned within this space. So it's centered without all of the text being centered. So you can align to an edge. You can align to the center. You can also do a visual alignment. And this is what I mean by this. This is technically left aligned, but this right here with the loops starting to go over is what we like to call visually aligned to accommodate the swooping curve of that V. So we like to just bump things over a little bit, and it gives just so much better of a feel to the alignment. And that's what we call visual alignment. So even though you'll use the align tool and it'll align it just like this, sometimes we want to go in and manually fix things so they look more visually aligned, even though metrically they might not be aligned. And then there comes a time where you may want to misalign text specifically to create a focal point, like in this example. Then we have proximity. So the principle of proximity, I think, especially when it comes to a menu, is probably one of the most important ones. What that means is that related items should be grouped together so that way they'll be viewed as a group rather than several unrelated elements. So in this, and we've probably seen a whole lot of business cards like this because it's visually filling up the space, right? Joe's Graphics, and here's the address, the phone number, and the website. You know, let's fill all the spaces. But we haven't grouped together things that go together, which is that part of proximity. So this is the address, so it should be grouped together where they're located. And then we have two ways to get in touch with them. The phone number and the website, again, contact information. So their proximity should be close to each other as well. And then we've visually aligned it here. and balanced it. So it's a much more harmonious design in this example than this example. And again, let's find some of those principles of design. So you guys who are here tonight, who can tell me where the example of contrast is on this menu? And you can either turn on your microphone or you can type it in the chat. Right, the red lettering with the black lettering and with the white definitely created contrast. And yes, and the red background right here with the white letters definitely creates some contrast. That is good. What about the different sizes where you have the headlines bigger than the items? Do you think that that creates contrast as well? Right, it does, yes. All right, how about repetition? Where do we see repetition in this? Okay, I think I know what you mean by the total content, but can you explain it a little? I think I know where you're going with this. Well, that would be the alignment. So we're looking for the repetition, but I can see what you're being, but that is true, how the repetition of the alignment in the 3 columns. The 3 columns is repetition, that's certain. And then if you look, the words in the paragraph, right, exactly. So anything, hot sandwiches are served with homemade hanger chips and a pickle spear. These are served with the hanger chips and pickle spear. The salads are served with hanger garlic knots. The pasta is served with garlic knots. The Mexican food is served with tortilla chips, sour cream, and fresh salsa. So each of these fonts, the red italic font is the same font size. It's set up the same exact way. So that is definite repetition. Each of the smaller text explaining the sandwiches or the salads or the pasta is a little bit of a smaller size than the actual item itself. So that's repetition. If there is something that can be added for an extra charge, it's the same font size here, but it's red italic. So that is repetition throughout. How about alignment? And there's 4 different principles of alignment going on here. Actually 5, if you look at it. 5 different principles of alignment going on here that I see right off the top of my head. Yep, the red lines. There's a vertical alignment between the different areas, correct? And this one's a little bit off right here. So somebody needed to bump that line up a bit. So that's one. Right, each column is aligned, exactly. So there's a left alignment to each column, but here's the second part of the columns. There's also a right alignment to each of the prices. And there is a third left alignment inside the columns where they are tabbed in on each side. See? So there's 3, and then So that was number 4 out of the 5. And then my 5th one was going to say that the lines are aligned centered as well to the columns as well as vertical, and this is centered as well to this column. So, you know, there was a lot of thought that went in to this alignment. Now, how about proximity? How did they use proximity? And that's, again, the grouping of like items together. Things that have to do with each other together. Okay, so the spacing between the items keeps certain items together. And just mostly, you know, if you look, these lines work as well to keep certain items together. Like all of the hot sandwiches are together, and then each sandwich individually is kept together. And then the sandwiches are kept together in this column. And then we move on through salads, pastas, entrees, and then comida mexicana, which is Mexican food. And so there is a proximity of, like, you know, they didn't say, well, we'll put hot sandwiches and then we'll put salads and then we'll put pasta and then we'll put the cold sandwiches over here. So they realized that there should be a proximity of keeping the sandwiches together in the same column as well. Good job. All right, so again, I'm going to skip over this part because I really want to get into discussing the discussion, style sheets, and the assessment for this week. So we'll come back to the critique. So when it comes to, you know, let me double check. All right, yeah, we're good. Okay. So when it comes to style sheets, styles are predetermined formats for text and objects, and using styles is the fastest and most efficient way to manage your formatting in InDesign. So the types of styles that we're going to be working with are known as character styles and paragraph styles. And it takes a minute to kind of, you know, grasp this concept. So don't feel bad if you don't completely get it right away and get working with them right away. You know, I remember myself personally when I first started using style sheets, I was a little bit confused because I would put something as a paragraph style and it would change everything in my text box. And that's because that's what paragraph styles do. They control the character attributes and paragraph attributes for the entire text box that you draw. So if you want to change just one word inside of a text box, you're going to want to use a character style instead. And it's probably easier to show this by doing examples. So let me open up my assignment from last week. I'm just gonna make a copy of that and move this over. And go down to page 2. Just get myself some text to work with. All right, so let's say that what I want to do is I want to set a tab, which seems like a strange term, but I want to set a tab so that way all of my prices are at the right-hand corner of my text box. And I also want all of my copy to be a different font. That would be a good use for a paragraph style because I'm changing this entire text box that way. Then if I was to get into the nitty gritty of wanting to change the word appetizer and wanting to change queso spinach dip, I can do that with a character style instead of a paragraph style. So I'm going to show you this. So the way to get to your styles is to go into Window and scroll down to Styles, and you're going to want to open up first Character Styles. And then some of you may notice that Paragraph Styles opens up with it, which is great. If it doesn't, just go back into Styles and click on Paragraph Styles. And what you can do is you can nest them together by dragging one on top until you can see that it puts it in there, and then just let go. So I'm going to make a paragraph style because I want this entire text box to be, let me see, a sans serif script, a sans serif text. I'll go with Avenir. All right, I want it to be Avenir. So I am going to, down here where it's a blank sheet of paper, I'm going to create a new style. And if you hover, it kind of shows you what each one does. So for my first style, it's just going to name it Paragraph Style 1. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to rename it font, we'll say. And I'm going to go down to basic character formats, and I want to change it to Avenir, regular. I want it to be 16 point type. And then I also want to set up my tabs, let's say. No, I'll do my tabs after because that might be a little bit confusing for you. So basic character formats of font, Avenir book, 16 point. I'm gonna hit OK. And you can see where I had my cursor, it changed that entire paragraph. And if I select my text box and click font, it changes everything in the text box to be that font. Now, there are two ways that you can do tabs. You can go in and select the line that you want to add the tab in, and you know, I'm going to turn on my camera real quick because I have some examples to show you, because I know, again, saying tabs is a little bit confusing. So I just want to show you an actual visual example. Hold on one sec. Might make it a little bit easier for you. All right. So I have two menu examples here tonight. My first one is for brick. Hopefully you can see it okay. And you'll notice on the inside, hold it up good, that there is text that runs from, there are dots that go from the name of the pizza to the price, and that's known as a tab. Let me get a little bit closer so you can see it. It's probably backwards. But that's known as a tab, where it inserts all of those dots. A designer doesn't go in and manually put in the dots. We put in what we call a leader, so it leads with all those dots where a tab is set. I knew my camera on to do my air quotes, as you can see. Now there's other types of tabs as well. So I have another menu example, which again, the price is tabbed all the way to the right-hand side. It just doesn't have the dots. So that's just leading with a space, basically. But it's still set up with a tab. So all a designer has to do is you set the amount of space from the end of one word to either the beginning of the next word, the center of the next word, or the right-hand side of the next word. And what it says is, put in this much space between this word and this word or number when I hit tab on my machine. So it puts in equal amount of space. And are you asking why people use tabs? Oh, okay. And the reason why we do that is it sets up our menus so everything is right aligned, because you can't get the alignment just right by manually putting in spaces or even by justifying. Sometimes it doesn't work. So this always gets our alignment correct. And then, you know, it's also good if, I don't know if either of these had this. They did not. The example on the screen had the name of the sandwich, and then there was an indent, and then a description of the sandwich. That's also set up with a tab. So you can also set up from the side and do tabs. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use tabs to really align items on your page and make sure that you get that alignment spot on, because it's going to make your designs more professional. It's going to keep that consistency that we're looking for, and that's definitely, you know, the alignment, the proximity, you know, all of the good principles of principles of design right there. You'll have your contrast, you'll have your repetition of the tabs, you'll have your alignment, you'll have your proximity, all just by doing those tabs. So it kind of takes care of a lot when you do that. And it's especially used in menus. And you know, you'll definitely notice, like, especially in this instance, all of the prices are tabbed to the same part, but you'll notice how they let the descriptions go a little bit further. And that's because this was set up with a right alignment. And the way that I can tell is down here, they have dollar signs in front of these 4 items, and there aren't dollar signs up here. And if it was left aligned, these 4 items would have been pushed out just a little bit further. So they actually, I can tell by looking at this, that they set up a right alignment with their tab. And when you've done this enough times, you start to see how other designers set things up. And you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I would have set it up that way as well. And the same thing was done with this menu. And I can tell you right here under the Dolce section, they forgot to put their tabs in. See? Everything else is tabbed, but that kind of messed up their repetition of an otherwise pretty well-designed menu for a black and white menu. And then in here, you can kind of see where they have, you know, a couple of extra items with the tabs, and it's just, you know, adding in the dots, I feel like gives your eye a visual to follow each time to the price. So I think that adding in, especially if you have a lot of menu items, I think the dots are helpful, because, you know, when we're sitting here looking over things, we don't want to go like this back and forth, like, wait a minute, let me try to line it up. So I think the dots help us to visually line up and see where the price is. And it's something where we are used to interacting with menus a certain way, and you may never have thought before about the design of a menu, but you've probably seen I have quite a few menus here that are all designed with their prices and items set up in a similar fashion. And that's because we are used to seeing things a specific way, so we expect to interact with something a specific way. It's okay to try to break the mold a little bit, but you don't want to reinvent the wheel when you're designing a menu, because there's a reason that menus are usually designed a certain way. It's because, you know, intuitively we know as a reader how to read a menu. So we don't want to make it too off the wall that people, you know, we have an item here, but the price is down here and the description's over here. We don't read that way. So it can start to get really, really confusing. All right, so I'm going to turn off my camera for now, which doesn't mean that I won't have more show and tell for later, but we'll get back into putting those tabs in. All right. So like I said, there's two different ways that you can put in tabs. And what you want to do is kind of find the best way for you. So what I like to do is you guys have all of your copy as a doc file. So let me open up just Maxwell's for right now. What I like to do is go in my Word document and manually put in the tab if it's not there before I copy and paste this into InDesign. It's just gonna save you a ton of time. So you'll just go in and select and manually put in the tab. And you'll notice how over here it looks like there isn't one there, but technically there is. Don't put in two tabs, just do one. So again, I like to actually, I might do the tab for this one. I'll probably do the tab here for this one. I don't like breaking it up. There, that works. All right. So again, there's two different ways that you can set up tabs. You can do it as a paragraph style, or you can just do it manually within your text box. I've always done it within my text box, but it is cool that you can do it as a paragraph style, so I'll kind of show it both ways. The reason why I like doing it through the text box is it puts the ruler up here for you, so I'm just gonna zoom in a little. And again, I'm gonna select everything in my text box. I'm gonna go to Type, Tabs, and see how it puts this ruler where this white arrow is right here. That's the end of my edge of my text box. So what I want to tell this is that I want a tab that is right justified, and I'm going to pull it. I'm going to click here, and you'll notice how it starts to move that 829 because I have a tab there, and it's moving it based on the right hand side. So to get it to the edge of my text box, I just drag it, and don't, be careful not to drag it out of the text box. I'm just going to drag it right to where that edge is, and it's going to add those tabs in, except if it bumps to the next line, which might happen to you. Here's my fix for that. Hit Shift Enter, not just Enter, but Shift Enter on the word before, and kind of, or even like and, sausage penny, baked, scallop combos, okay to go to the next line. Oops. To kind of add in those tabs. And see where you have the word leader? If I want to add in those dots, all I do is select everything again, and where it says leader, put in a dot and hit enter. And it's going to add in all of those dots into my tab. I mean, I could do, you can really lead with anything. I could, and you'll have to click on it. If you've already clicked out, you got to click on it to get it back in there. You have to find where that arrow is. So I could even lead with exclamation points. Or I could lead with stars. Whoops. No, in here. There we go. I could lead with, come on. There we go. But I'm going to lead with the periods. But I'm just letting you know, like this is the way to do this. And again, you could make a paragraph style, which is also a good idea. And if you set it up this way and you're like, well, I want it to be the same, but maybe I should set it up as a paragraph style, what you can do is kind of copy where you set it up in case if it doesn't give you the ruler. Again, it's gonna, every time you do a new paragraph style, it's gonna name it paragraph style 1. This one you might want to name tabs. And go down to where it says tabs. And again, click over here, and you'll notice you can't see up here. That's why I don't really like it that much, but you can paste in and put in the leader and hit OK. Tabs, oh, font, there we go. Come on, tabs. Oh, I know why. Oh, I know why I did that. Because I did a paragraph style. Remember I said it changes everything. Down in font, I'm going to want to amend this paragraph style and add the tab in. So 3 point, I think it was like 4444. Leader, period. Okay, there we go. And then I can just delete that one and replace it with font. All right. So again, you want to make sure that you append it, because you'll notice that when I made just a new paragraph style, it changed my font, just like it did right there when I was pressing on it. So let's say that I want to change my items and my prices, though, to be bold. I can't do a paragraph style because, again, it's going to change everything. So this is where I need to do a character style. So I'm going to go over to my character style sheets, and I'm going to hit new, create new style, which is that little sheet of paper. Again, it's going to say character style 1. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to name it item and price. Always aim at something where it makes sense. So when you're looking at a long list, you're like, oh, all right, that makes sense then. And then I'm going to change it to near book, though. I want it to be heavy, 16-point type, and okay. So that changed now just this item. And if I want to change just this line, I select the line and I just select item and price. Again, item and price, item and price. So that way, now I can do the same thing. You know, maybe I want my appetizers to be something that stands out and my entrees to be something that stands out. Again, I'm going to have to use a character style for this. So I'm going to hit new. And I'll name this one maybe main headlines. And maybe I want it to be chunk 5, 24, all caps. And this maroon color. So I hit okay. So main headline, there we go. And main headline. Oh, and I gotta look, that didn't have that E there, which was a special character. So that's, you know, kind of a quick overview of doing style sheets. Oh, another thing I would probably want to do is this is a description. So I probably wouldn't want the description to be as big of a font as the name of the item. So again, I'm going to make another character sheet, and I'm going to name it description. And this one I'm gonna make Avenir light oblique, which is light italic, and I'm gonna change the font size to 12, and I'll hit okay. And so now I can select, there we go. So now with my paragraph styles, I've created some contrast here. I've created repetition. I have some alignment and proximity. You know, certain items are together. But I might want to add in some spacing between my paragraphs, especially after my main headline. So I'm going to select my paragraph tab, which is different than my paragraph style tab. And I'm going to manually add in some spacing below this word by going like this, 2.125. And I believe I might be able, no, I can't do that. I think I could have done it with a paragraph style, but I don't want it for all of them. So I'm gonna manually go in 1, 2, and add in those paragraph spaces. And then maybe between these items, I might just add just a little bit of space. And this is where doing a shift return as opposed to a hard return matters, because see how I have sausage and penny here? And if I do a shift return, it still keeps that together. If I do just a regular plain old return, there's more space now than there is down here. It may just look like a minute difference, but it really does matter. So I would do the same thing here. Shift return to get that vegetable to the next line. You want to just try to take care of wherever you can the hyphens. All right. So I only have 4 items here. But what if I have a lot of items? I'm going to need to kind of copy and paste everything over. So this is where you would want to start to have multiple text boxes. And the best way to use multiple text boxes with a menu is to link them. So I'm going to go into and grab everything. Whole menu here. And before I draw out my text boxes, what I want to do is on this page, I'm going to go up to my layout, to margins and columns, and I want to change this to a 3-column design. So I'm going to put in 3 columns, and I want a little bit bigger of a gutter. I want maybe 0.375, let's see, of a gutter. I want some space here. I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to close it up, which means I'm going to have to adjust my tab. So I'm going to tabs, and you can see how it's way over here. I need to drag that into where the text box is, which is that white arrow, and then drop it. Okay. And I'm also going to copy and paste everything in. So I'm going to paste over this. And you can see it pasted based on my first character style there. So I'm going to change everything to just, come on. Description, no. On. There. Avenir book. Sometimes mine does bizarre things. All right, there we go. And I don't know why. It won't remember my character format, it overrides it. And other people don't seem to have this problem, so sometimes I wonder if it's a problem with my InDesign. So I'm going to just base it off of item and price right now. And I'll go through and I'll just manually change my main headlines, my descriptions, main headline, I gotta fix that E. So you can see once I've started to change up some of these fonts that it's way easier to read than when everything is bold type. It just makes it a little bit easier. But look what happened. I have text that's running outside of this box. So what I want to do is I want this text to start to flow into these two text boxes that I have not drawn yet. So I'm going to draw a text box here, and I'm going to draw a text box here, and I want to make sure that they're all the same size. So there's a way to do that. You can double check up here. My width on all of them is 2.33333, 2.333, 3333. And 2.333. All right. So with my black arrow, I'm going to select the little red plus sign, which is probably hard for you to see on your screen, but it's at the bottom of my text box. And when I click on that, it's going to give me this link and what looks like text. And I'm going to click right in the text box, and it's going to drag it in. But there's going to be a red arrow at the bottom over here too. So I'm going to have to click on that text box and drag it into this text box. And then I can finish up what I'm doing, and you'll notice when I select, it selects through the first column into the second column. And I'm gonna have to address things running outside of my columns. And this is some small type. All right. So I might not need 3 columns. I thought I might, but this design looks like it probably worked better with 2 columns. And sometimes you're not going to notice this until you really get in there. Oops. Let me fix this. Item and price right there. All right. So I'm going to change it to 2 columns. I'm going to go back up into layout, margins and columns. And I'm going to change the number of columns from 3 to 2, which means, again, I'm going to have to kind of adjust things. I'm going to have to adjust my tabs. So I'm going to drag this here, drag that there. Go to my tabs, and I'm going to drag almost to the edge here. Let's go with 2.9. Nice round number. Hit OK. And that should have gone further. Oh. All right. Again, you can see that sometimes my InDesign does very bizarre things. There we go. And I might even try to, oh, dessert is its own section. There we go. I knew I was missing something. Main headline. All right, that bumps that down there. And again, I'm going to do a shift enter to bring skillet onto that line. And probably bring tenderloin down. Each time you change something, you got to go back through and see if anything needs to be dealt with, like combo should go the next line. I might actually do this as an item and price and put the tab between only and $3.99 more. And I got to add in those And I'll probably delete out the extra spaces or returns between the items. All right, so you can kind of see where, you know, how you have to kind of, under entrees, oh, thank you. There we go. Yeah. So you can see where you kind of have to, like, every time you change something, it's gonna change things in your design. You know, just because you set it up once doesn't mean that it's going to, you know, it's gonna work if you have to do minor tweaks and stuff. So I just, you know, wanted to kind of show you that, like, you know, this is how it works. It's always, everything's always a work in progress. And you'll see that I have 3 very specific styles. I have, you know, my items and price, I have my main headlines, and I have my descriptions. So, you know, those main headers might be your food categories, such as entrees, desserts, appetizers. The item names would probably be like your items and price, and then the descriptions would be your descriptions. So you should have the same type of character styles this week. And then what I would do is I would set up the, oh, and now it wants to remember that. Okay. There, yeah. Now it wants to remember. It's like, do you want to remember that you just did this? If I hover over it, over an option, click to clear space after. No, I don't want to clear that. So yeah, so there's, you know, there's a lot that kind of goes into setting these up. And again, going into Microsoft Word and manually putting in those tabs beforehand really helps you out. But then, you know, when you're starting to set this up, another thing that you need to think about is you need to think about what type of menu it is that you're designing. And different menus are going to have, you know, different feels to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add another page into my document, and and I'll just keep working with this, and then I'll kind of go back to the assignment and I'll show you the like how to set this up, you know, copying your assignment from week 1 over and stuff like this. But I feel like we're kind of on a roll in InDesign right now, so I really don't want to get out of it and you know, hop all over the place. So there's 2 different feels kind of to the different types of menus this week. You know, Maxwell's definitely had a more fine dining feel, where Starlight Bistro and Walk and Roll were more along the lines of casual dining. So I definitely think your font choices and your font decisions are based on whether you have casual dining or whether you have fine dining. So I had made a casual menu and then a fine dining menu of my own that I'm going to create 2 different layouts for. So this one right here is my casual menu. So let me just kind of close these 2 up a bit. Bring that down. And I'll just make a quick little casual fine dining so you guys can see. Or casual dining. Again, give myself a little bit of space. And you'll notice that I closed up this, but I had a return at the end, so I put that return over to the next line. So these are the little things you got to look at. And also, I'm visually, I am lined up with my text box on the bottom of my margin, but I am going to, or or I'm not visually lined up. I'm lined up with my text box. So I'm going to visually line up. And that means placing these letters on that line, but allowing my descender, my one descender, to go below the line. That's the only thing that should ever go below the line of a margin, our descender. And if it's a really big descender, you don't want it to go below the line, because anything in this area, you're at risk of it being cut off at the printer. All right, so this is my kind of disclaimer, I feel like, that every single restaurant has. Everything's cooked to order, blah, blah. I'm gonna bring down the font size on this to maybe 10-point type, because quite frankly, we really don't need this to stand out. And I'm going to actually put it in its own text box, and I'm going to close up this text box. I'll just draw another text box down here, place that in, maybe even center it so it looks like it stands out. If I can get it, maybe 9-point type, or even 9.5, get it onto a couple less lines. There we go. And again, I'm lining it up the same exact way. I'm visually lining it up. Which does leave me a whole lot of space here, but I can add in some menu items. So I am going to go over, you guys have your menu items. I, however, am going to go over to pexels.com. I'm going to go right from the link in the announcements. I'm going to get myself maybe some cookies. We're all going to be starving after this course. Like, it's like every single week, we're definitely going to be hungry. I'm going to, I try not to eat after 7 o'clock at night. And every time that I'm done teaching this course at 8 o'clock at night, I'm like, man, I just really want some pizza, and I don't know why. And I'm like, no, I know why. It's because I've been talking about it. Let's see, cookies. Woo! That looks yum. So they have a baked chocolate chip cookie skillet, which I probably won't be able to find a picture of. But I can be a little bit more specific and say chocolate chip cookie. These are definitely not chocolate chip cookies. It's because people put in the metadata because they want you to pick their photo. Definitely not a chocolate chip cookie. This is a chocolate chip cookie. Let's go with this one, though. I really like this picture. And you can say thank you to the person, which is never a bad thing. Give them a little shout out. And I didn't go over this last week, but you're going to want to change your photos from RGB to CMYK. Anything low res means that it is from the web, it's 72 DPI, and it's starting to get pixelated. So I can kind of show you, as soon as this finishes downloading, I can show you exactly what I mean. There we go. I'm going to open this up, and you can kind of see. So in InDesign, in Photoshop, this is 300 DPI, and it's also 20 inches by 13 inches. So this is a nice high-res photo, meaning it's high. It has a high resolution to it. But if I just went to Google, let's say, and went and did an image search, chip cookies, and grabbed these cookies, you'll see that it's a much smaller file, which means that it's lower res. Wow. Our internet is so slow tonight. It hasn't even started snowing here. Whew. All right, so this picture, even though it kind of looks okay, it's only 240 resolution, which actually is not bad for finding something online. Usually it's 72 dpi, but it's only 3 inches by 1.875. So when I make it 300 dpi, which is what it should be for print, it brings it down to only 1.5 inches high, which is way smaller than this nice big photo, which is 20 inches. So I can use it on a much larger scale. If I do, all right, again, you want to change it to CMYK from RGB. So you can go to image mode, CMYK. Hit OK. Do a file, save as. I'm going to name this Cookies High Res. And then this one that I downloaded, I'm going to do CMYK. And I'm going to save in the same place as Cookies Low Res. And we'll place both of them in InDesign. And you can see that one is just a bigger photo, which means it's going to be a better quality photo. So navigate over to week 2. Assignment. All right, so here's my low res one. Wait, hold on. I just want to place it at its actual size. So this is its actual size, where if I wanted it to span, in order to do that, I would need to make it much larger than 100%. It's now almost 140%, which means it's starting to get pixelated. The more I zoom in, see how you can see all the little jagged edges? It's not going to print well. So that means that it's low res. But when I place my high res photo, it's going to be ginormous, basically. It's huge. So I can place this nicely within this one column. Actually wanna maybe even scale it like that. Close up a little bit. There we go. So it's just a much better quality image. So you want to definitely look at the resolution of the images that you download, and you want to look at, you know, the size of it. If it's 72 dpi, it's definitely low res and it shouldn't be used for print. But if it's something that is 2,000 pixels wide by 2,000 pixels high, and you know you only needed it 2 inches by 2 inches, though, that's one of those instances, and they're all different, but that's one of those instances where you can start to kind of fudge it a little bit and you won't be able to tell. It's all, you know, every scenario is a little bit different. So that's kind of what you're looking for. So I've got my cookies. Now, what if I want my cookies to be underneath my dessert? That's fine. I can set that up this way. There's 2 different ways that I can do that. I can literally do a Command X on my photo, go into my text box, hit enter, and do a Command V and paste that image in, which is pretty cool. Whoops. And if you want to give it a little bit more space, you can hit enter and just manually kind of move the leading up and down, which this is your leading. So you can make it bigger to give it more space, make it less to give it less space. So that's one way that you can kind of embed an image in, or I could, you know, manually hit enter and move this down, or I can just put the 3-course meal in its own text box, kind of like I did for here. So there's a couple of different ways, you know, in InDesign to fix any of the little problems that you might be having, that you might run into. Next, I'm going to see if I can find a cup of soup and a salad. Not on Google, though. I'm going to go back into Pexels. Say soup and salad. Which normally restaurants will give you pictures of their own food. So you wouldn't normally be doing a search for, you know, soup and salad. They probably would supply that for you. Oh, this could be fun. Maybe we'll do this. And I'll just crop that out real quick in Photoshop. And again, you can download something and, you know, change it up if you want. Like, oh, that's the cookies. That's still downloading. Good grief. But you definitely want to make sure that you're using the images and using them correctly, the ones that were part of the assignment that you downloaded last week. But you can add to them. Not to give you a tutorial in Photoshop, but I'm just going to crop out the fork real quick by doing a very, very quick mask. Because I find that that's kind of the easiest way to do it. And again, it's up to you. You don't have to do something like this. I'm just kind of showing you some design ideas for your second part of your menu this week. And then afterwards, I'll show you a more formal or fine dining example. And then we'll take a look at the discussion, and we'll take a look at the requirements and setting up the assignment this week. And you do have another quiz for your assessment this week. So, and items in the quiz will come from the readings and the videos. There's definitely more videos and readings in the course. So when you are going into week 2, you want to make sure that you scroll all the way through, that you're either clicking on the home page on the word week 2, which will bring you right to the page that has the videos or the course media, or you are going all the way past the assessment for the week to see it, or you are going into readings and videos from the homepage. So there's really 3 ways that you can get in and see the readings and videos. But you need to make sure that you're really watching those videos, because I only, unfortunately, have 2 hours with you. So I'm trying to get in as much as I can on kind of the assignment end, which means that those videos are going to fill in the blanks on the technicalities of InDesign that I kind of go over, but I can't go over in great detail. So, you know, between me and the videos, you should have, you know, a more complex understanding of the program. And again, the best way to learn a program is just, you got to kind of immerse yourself in it. That is definitely the way that I learned it the first time around. Was, you know, my work was trying to decide, like, hey, should we switch to InDesign when it first came out? And I was like, I don't know. I said, you know what, can you let me work in it for a couple of weeks, and I can kind of get a good feel for it and see how I like it, and I'll give you my InDesign review. And that's what they had me do. Is they told me, yeah, you know what, just make sure that the press gets your ads and they can work with your PDFs, and yeah, go right ahead, use InDesign and see what you think. And that's how I learned it. I just completely immersed myself in it. And I really just think that that is the, that's the only way. Okay, let me zoom in. Food tomato. Yeah, I love how people name things. So hey, you're right. It is food and tomato. There it is. Make sure it's CMYK. Oops, and back into InDesign. All right, so again, placing an image, you can either do file place, or you might have seen me do the quick key for it earlier, which is Command D. Again, it's one of those things where the sooner you start to learn the quick keys, the faster things go for you. And I'm gonna right click on this and transform it. I wanna flip it horizontal so my fork's coming in off of the bleed. And rotate it a little. R is rotate. A lot of the same quick keys that you might have learned in your other classes will work for InDesign as well. So this is why I have it extending out past this red line right here, because I want it to extend out past my bleed. And just close that up a little. Again, I'm holding down Shift and Command to make it proportionally smaller. There we go. And I probably would grab another image of a treat. Probably want something that's going to fit well in that area, so I don't have to really crop it. Uh-oh, hope I didn't lose you guys. Everybody's still there? It said my internet connection was bad. I'm so worried about this storm. Oh, okay, great. Uh-oh, I think I lost Angela for a second. I hope she's able to get back. All right, I'm just gonna download these ones. Yeah, the minute I downloaded that first image, and it was like, I was like, oh no, the internet. And I know it's not my internet because I thought it was my internet, and I basically like restarted everything before our live session tonight. So I was like, oh man, please don't die on me now. There we go. And I'll just make this one CMYK and place it like I want to, and I'm going to place it in the back. And then I'm going to show you how to make a cool background too. She is, yeah. So, oh, I hope she's not getting the storm already. She said the snow was starting to come in, because if she's starting to get it, then I'm starting to get it. And my lights just flickered. This is because I said I don't lose power. Those words came out of my mouth today, which those words should never come out of your mouth if a storm is coming. All right. So I am going to place that image in the back there. And I'll see, I might do something like this. And I want to send this to the back. So I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. We'll move it right up under this one. And then I'm going to use that gradient swatch, the gradient feather tool. And I want to start to feather up on this. So that way you can still read the words okay. Move that down just a smidge so you can really see the cupcake. And then I'll close this up right there. Just a little bit more of that feather. There we go. Because you want it to look cool, but readability is first. All right, so I'm going to save this real quick. And I want to show you how to make a pattern background too, because I know you might be thinking like, I want to do something in my background, but I'm not quite sure what. Here's the easiest way to figure this out. Draw a rectangular box from one part of the bleed to the other part of the bleed, and you'll notice that the size, and you might need to write it down, is 8.75 by 11.25. And I'm going to make a new Photoshop document that is exactly that size. 8.75 by 11.25. I want it to be 300 DPI and CMYK, and white background's fine. That is not the right size. Oh, I was in pixels. 8.75, I've already forgotten, by 11.25. And no, still white. All right. There we go. All righty. So there is a site. It is called subtlepatterns.com. Not subtraction. Oh, come on. Subtle patterns, where are you? There you go. Oh, good, you're back. We thought we might have lost you because we almost lost me. So what you can do is you can download one of these patterns to use as a background pattern, and they're really great because they're exactly what they say they are. They're subtle. And it's really easy to use. Yeah, mine did too. We almost lost me. They're really easy to use. So what might go well? This might go well with my other menu, so I'm going to download that from my other one. I think you'd want to use something worms for a menu. People might get scared. kind of cool. I'll use this one. I'll open this one up while I'm in here too and bring them both over. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up that circles and roundabouts PNG file in Photoshop. Don't worry, I'm making a background and it's not anything you need to do. I was just kind of showing you some ideas of things that you can do with your designs. So I'm going to go up into Edit, Define Pattern, and I can name it something else if I want, and just hit OK. And then I'm going to go into that document I made that's the entire size of my background. I'm going to do an Edit Fill. I'm going to click Pattern. And I'm just going to scroll down to that pattern that I just made, that circles and roundabouts, and hit OK. And it makes me a cool little pattern, and I can just save this as my background. And where I drew this red box, I can just place it there. Although I don't want the box to be red. Color. Nada. And again, I'll just send it to the back, arrange, object arrange, send to back. So now I just have like a cool little background going on. Again, you want to make sure that it's not overpowering your text. So if it's a little dark, what you can do is select it with the black arrow tool. You can change the opacity up here. Just like that. You can even see if it's going to do what I want it to do. You can even colorize it. Oh, you used to be able to do it this way. Oh, I know why. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Another way that you can colorize it is you can put a box over it and change the opacity of that. Or if it's black and white, you can actually make it black and white, make it grayscale in Photoshop, save it. When you get back into InDesign, you need to go into links, and it's going to have an arrow, which means it's modified. So you'll want to update that link. So you click on the little circle with the arrows, and that updates it. So we're kind of going over a whole lot of things tonight. And then when you click on it, see how it gives you a black background? You can kind of you can change it to red, and it colorizes it for you if it's black and white. So I can make it that burgundy-ish color, like a scaled back version. So it's kind of a cool little option you can do. So here's my casual dining one. Again, that's a little bit too dark. I think I want to scale that back a bit. Maybe to 60%. And I'm going to save this. Next, we're going to show something more along the lines of fine dining. I'm going to use the same exact setup. Basically, I'm just going to change out the fonts just for time, because I just saw the time, and I want to make sure I go over the discussion and copying your work forward from last week. So for a fine dining restaurant, I'm probably going to want a different type of pattern background, but I already downloaded it. So I'm going to use that Regal one. Oh, come on. Open up in Photoshop. And again, I'm going to just do Edit, Define Pattern, hit OK. And then here I'm going to do Edit, Fill. I'm going to change it to Regal. And I'm going to do a file, save as. I'm going to name this one background 2 because I don't want to save over the one on the other page. And I can swap it right out in InDesign. So this is my fine dining. So I just select it, do a Command D, change it to background 2. Already changes the look a little bit. And I might change the background color. I'm even going to use the same color scheme. I'm just going to show you how changing the fonts around will do this. So headlines. Let's see. I'm going to double click on and try and think of the easiest way to do this. Select this one and I'm going to find a different font first. Maybe I want a script font. Maybe Bicam Pro. Not all caps. You'll notice you can't read in all caps. So I'm going to say create new style, and this is going to be headlines 2. And under my character formats, I'm going to take out that caps and change it to normal. And I can click on preview to see how this looks. Normal. Hit OK. Come on, really? Oh, I know why. It was caps in my, and probably needs to be a little bit bigger because that's a small font, although I don't really like that font. It's not easy to read. That doesn't say fine dining to me. So again, you know, sometimes it takes a couple of tries, you know, to really get the right feel. Oh, that's better. Delete that one. There we go. All right. Next, I need a new font. Ooh, I've lost my color. There we go. All right, I need a new font for my menu item. Not that this isn't a good font, but maybe I'll do a serif font, the fonts with the little feet. And maybe I'll do Baskerville Old Face. It's a very, and or Baskerville, because I don't have all the versions. Baskerville Bold, okay. And I say new character style. So this is items 2. And then I'm going to do a version of Baskerville here. Maybe Baskerville Italic. There we go. So now I can go in and just change it. I'm going to have to trace. Where did that? Oh, whoops. I clicked. I was like, where did that font even come from? Woo! And it just changes the whole feel of this entire menu right now. Just by changing the fonts. I didn't change the colors. I didn't change the layout. I didn't even change the images. All I did was change the font. And this is a much smaller one, so I'm going to go with just Baskerville regular. And I would probably move and a. I want to bring this whole text box to the front. Type object, arrange, bring to the front. I'm going to move and to the next line. There we go. Changes the whole feel of my menu. From this to this. All right, so let's say that my menu is done. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to show you again how to package everything. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Package, and I want to make sure that nothing is missing. So I'm going to look and make sure, links and images, colors and inks, I only have CMYK, print settings, external plugins. I'm going to hit Package, make sure nothing comes up with an error, hit Continue, and then I'm going to use that PDF preset that I made last week, all printer marks, and I'm going to package it with that PDF. I'm going to put it in week 2. DES 105, week 2. I made a folder for my assignment and name it assignment 2. There we go, and I can close out of this and double check my files. So here's my folder that I just created. I have my IDML, my INDD, and my PDF. I'm going to double check my PDF. I have page 1. I have my crop marks and bleed marks. Here's my page 2, that casual dining menu that I made. And here's page 3, which is my fine dining. You only need to have your menu. I just wanted to kind of show you how fonts can change the feel between fine dining and casual dining by just changing those fonts, how it can kind of change the entire feel of your menu. But again, you're going to want to go back in and make sure you're watching all of the videos on the CRAP principles and everything else. All right. So let's quickly look at our discussion question for this week. And then I also want to show you how to copy those files over from week 1. So that way you can add in your menu for week 2. So again, make sure you're going to the readings and videos. Oi, the links. I'm watching myself on the iPad next to me, and it's just having a heck of a time. All right, so make sure you scroll down to week 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos, plus the lynda.com. So make sure you're watching those. Oh no, I hope I don't sound robotic. Yeah, make sure you're watching all those videos. It's gonna really help this come together, because I always feel like I'm just zooming through things during the live session, and I always feel so bad. The assignment for this week, all right, well, let me finish going over this, and then that's fine. All right, so our discussion for this week, we're actually talking about style sheets. So we're going, after all of this, you'll realize that you learned how to use the style sheets, and you can make layouts consistent to apply to 2 of the principles of design: repetition and alignment. Do you feel that restricting yourself by using style sheets hinders creativity? That's your first question. And then you need to find an example where you feel style sheets were used, but it's still unique and creative. So locate 3 places on that layout and tell us what type of style sheets may have been used, character or paragraph, to support a principle of repetition or alignment or both. Be sure to cite where you found the image that you were using and the name of the artist or firm if possible. So there is a video that shows you exactly how to embed images into your discussion post. Make sure you're watching that video. Basically, all you need to do is go to your account name, go to files, and upload right through there. But make sure you're watching that video. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. So whether or not the style sheets were used and whether or not you think that the piece is still creative. All right, so menu design for part 2. Make sure you're reading over the background and everything. So our prompt for this week is your graphic presentation, type choices, and overall look should reflect the price point, market, and target audience of the restaurant that you chose. Remember why I was showing you a casual versus fine dining. Make sure that your menu can be read in both sunshine and candlelight. Your ultimate goal is to express the restaurant's personality in a visual way. So for this assignment, you will be finishing the project that you started last week by adding the menu items for your restaurant. Please do not change restaurants this week. So first thing you need to do is duplicate your week 1 menu file cover, which means your entire assignment from week 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to go, and this is where having different weeks is important. You're going to go into week 1 and find your assignment, which mine is right here. And I have a folder that says my assignment, which is in my week 1 folder. Over here in this Finder window, I have my week 2 folder that I've created. I'm going to select my entire folder that I packaged, and I'm going to hold down my Option key and drag it. See how I get that green plus sign? From one Finder window to the other. And you'll notice that it copies it over, and I'm going to rename it Assignment 2 and open it up and just change the 1 in InDesign file to 2. And you don't need to worry so much. You can delete out, honestly, the IDML and the PDF for this week. Keep them in your week 1. You're going to then open it up and pick one of the 2 menu covers that you think is the strongest design. If I made a note and I said, ooh, I really like this one, maybe that's because I thought it was the strongest design. And then you're going to make revisions to that cover per the critique that you got in your grade for last week. And then you're going to add a new page to your InDesign document, or it should already be 2 pages, so you shouldn't need to do that, because you can just get rid of the page that, what was on the second page, the cover that you're not using, which is fine. And you need to create a menu layout for the restaurant with all the text provided. Remember, those assets were downloaded in week 1. At least 2 of the photos that were provided to you in those assets. You need to have paragraph styles and character styles. So as far as paragraph styles, I would set up exactly as I did. I would set up your tabs with the paragraph style, and I would set up the 3 character styles to be those headlines for like the food categories like entrees or desserts. The second one can be the item names. And then the third one can be that description. And then you can make some custom color swatches, maybe 2 or 3 colors, and then apply the CRAP principles of design: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And then the elements of design: shape, line, texture, color, textures, and the choice and value that you learned about this week. If you copy the layout from the example, your creativity score is going to be low. And when you're finished with your design, again, you need to package that folder like I just showed you again, and be sure that you have a quality screen resolution PDF. That's that high quality PDF with those crop marks and bleeds set. And then you're going to submit that packaged file and as a zip file. And if you only have a one-button mouse, you might have run into this week. You might have to hold down Control while you click on the folder to get to compress, to make that zip file. And again this week, you can submit that PDF. I actually have it in here. Oops. Let me do this one. You can submit the zip file and then submit that PDF, so that way I can leave you notes on the PDF like I did this week if you uploaded the two of them together. So the assets from this week's project are those that you downloaded in the week 1 assignment. If you need to download them again, there's a link right here. And be sure that you download the same restaurant that you did for your cover. And doing a cover on one restaurant and the menu on a different restaurant will result in no points. So make sure that you're doing that. And again, you need to think about the feel of each of those restaurants. You know, we can kind of be very vague and divide them into casual dining versus fine dining. So figuring out which is which to figure out how best to design that menu text. And remember, readability is paramount. So if it looks cool, but it can't be read, then it doesn't meet the criteria of a menu. A menu, first and foremost, needs to be read by people before we worry about how it looks. So make sure that your fonts are legible. Make sure that your copy is legible, that your type isn't too small, things like that. Now, what was your question?
Shannon, I have a quick question. With the menu part of it, like how you did on yours, are we allowed to change the lettering, the main lettering up, or does it got to be the same?
You mean the verbiage?
Yeah, like the appetizers and stuff.
No, you have to use you need to use the copy that's there. You can change the fonts around, but you have to use the copy that was provided to you.
No, that's what I meant. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Like, can we change the font and stuff, or does it got to be the same as what's given to us?
No, you definitely want to change the font because that's definitely the design portion of the menu.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I needed to know.
Okay. And any other questions before we end tonight?
I went to see Misty, and she helped me redo all of that and got it sent into you.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
I don't know what in the world was going on. I tried my darndest, and you know that. And it's like, okay, I gave up last night. I said,
nope,
I'm waiting for Misty to come in and have her help me.
That's fine, because I knew you had it somewhere.
Getting really frustrated.
Yep, no worries. I'll probably take a look at that.
I went into Misty this morning and told her, and
no worries at all. All right, well, we'll end for this evening, but thank you both so much for being able to make it. And again, I will try my darndest to be here tomorrow night, so wish me luck. Have a great night.